Finding Redemption, 3 stories of transformation. Friends, we serve a God of second chances, a God of restoration, a God of redemption. Redemption is more than just forgiveness. It's about being made whole again, set back on the right path and given a new purpose. Today I want to share with you 3 powerful stories from the Bible that beautifully illustrate the transformative power of redemption. We'll journey with Joseph, who was betrayed and sold into slavery, yet rose to a position of power and ultimately saved his family from famine. We'll meet the prodigal son, who squandered his inheritance and hit rock bottom, only to find unconditional love and forgiveness upon his return. And we'll witness the dramatic conversion of Paul, who went from persecuting Christians to becoming one of the most influential apostles. Each story is a testament to God's unwavering faithfulness and his ability to work miracles in the lives of those who seek him. Joseph, from betrayal to blessing. Let's begin with the story of Joseph, found in the book of Genesis. This tale is one of the most compelling narratives in the Bible, filled with twists and turns that reveal the profound workings of divine providence. Joseph was greatly loved by his father, Jacob. Jacob's affection for Joseph was evident as he gifted him a richly ornamented robe, a symbol of his special favor. This favor bred jealousy among his brothers. They couldn't stand the sight of Joseph in his colorful robe, and their envy grew with each passing day. Driven by envy, they threw him into a pit and sold him into slavery. It was a heart-wrenching betrayal, one that would change the course of Joseph's life forever. Even in the darkest moments, God was with Joseph. His faith never wavered, even when he was far from home and family. Joseph served in the house of Potiphar, an Egyptian official. His diligence and integrity quickly earned him a place of trust and responsibility. Despite false accusations and imprisonment, Joseph's spirit remained unbroken. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison, yet he did not lose hope. He held on to his faith, knowing that God was with him. In the solitude of his cell, Joseph continued to pray and trust in God's plan. Joseph's diligence and integrity didn't go unnoticed. The prison warden saw his potential and put him in charge of all the prisoners. He was eventually put in charge of the entire prison. This position of authority was a testament to his unwavering character and faith. Pharaoh had a troubling dream that none could interpret. The dream foretold 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of severe famine. Joseph, filled with God's wisdom, interpreted the dream, foretelling a coming famine. His insight was not just a display of intelligence, but a divine revelation. Pharaoh appointed him second in command over all of Egypt. Joseph's rise to power was swift and remarkable, a clear sign of God's favor. Joseph's rise to power wasn't just about him, it was part of a larger divine plan to save many lives. It was about God's plan to save Egypt and Joseph's family from famine. Joseph's strategic planning during the years of plenty ensured that there was enough food during the years of famine. When his brothers came to Egypt seeking food, Joseph was in a position to save them. The very brothers who had betrayed him now stood before him, desperate and hungry. His act of forgiveness is a testament to the power of God's redemption. Joseph chose to forgive, understanding that his suffering had a greater purpose. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph tells his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." These words encapsulate the essence of Joseph's journey. Joseph's story reminds us that God can take even the most painful experiences and use them for our good and his glory. His life is a powerful example of how faith and perseverance can lead to redemption. He can turn our tests into testimonies, our trials into triumphs. Joseph's journey from the pit to the palace is a testament to this truth. When we trust in his plan, we open ourselves up to the transformative power of his redemption. Joseph's unwavering faith allowed him to see God's hand in every situation. Joseph's story is a powerful reminder of God's unwavering faithfulness. It encourages us to remain steadfast in our faith, knowing that God is always working for our good. The prodigal son embraced by unconditional love. Let's turn our attention to the parable of the prodigal son, found in the Gospel of Luke. This timeless story has touched countless hearts and continues to resonate with people from all walks of life. This story illustrates God's boundless love and his eagerness to welcome us back, no matter how far we've strayed. It is a tale of redemption, forgiveness, and the unwavering love of a father for his child, a father with two sons. The younger son, restless and eager for adventure, makes a bold and somewhat disrespectful request. The younger son asks for his inheritance. This request is unusual and audacious, as it implies a desire to sever ties and live independently. The father, with a heavy heart, grants his son's request. He divides his property and gives the younger son his share, knowing the risks involved. The son sets off for a distant country. He is filled with excitement and anticipation, ready to explore the world on his own terms. He lived lavishly, indulging in every pleasure. He spent his money freely, enjoying the company of new friends and the thrill of a carefree life. But soon, his money dwindled, his friends disappeared, and he found himself alone and destitute. The reality of his situation hit him hard. He ended up working as a swineherd, a job that was considered degrading and humiliating, especially for someone of his background. He was so desperate for food that he envied the pods the pigs were eating. His hunger and despair were overwhelming. In that moment of utter brokenness, a glimmer of hope emerged. He began to reflect on his life and the choices he had made. The son remembered his father's kindness. He recalled the love and care he had once taken for granted. He decided to return home, not as a son, but as a humble servant. He was willing to accept any position just to be back in his father's house. The father sees his son approaching from a distance. His heart leaps with joy and compassion. He runs to meet his son, throws his arms around him, and embraces him with a love that knows no bounds. The father's joy is immeasurable. The son begins to confess his sins. He is filled with remorse and shame, ready to accept any punishment. But the father, filled with compassion and forgiveness, cuts him off. He doesn't need to hear the confession. His love is already forgiven. He orders his servants to prepare a feast, to bring the finest robe, to put a ring on his son's finger and sandals on his feet. These are symbols of restoration and honor. He's celebrating because his son who was lost has been found. The joy of reunion overshadows all past mistakes. In Luke 15:24, the father exclaims, "For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." These words capture the essence of the parable. The story of the prodigal son reminds us that no matter what we've done, God is always waiting for us with open arms. His love is unwavering and ever-present. He's a loving Father who rejoices when we return to Him. His heart is full of joy and celebration when we come back to His embrace. His love is unconditional, His forgiveness is limitless, and His grace is sufficient for all our shortcomings. No sin is too great, no distance too far for His love to reach us. The prodigal son's story is a powerful reminder of God's boundless love. It encourages us to trust in His mercy and to always seek His embrace, no matter where we are in life. Finally, let's delve into the extraordinary transformation of Paul, whose story is found in the book of Acts. This book, written by Luke, chronicles the early days of the Christian church and highlights the pivotal moments that shaped its growth. Paul's journey is a testament to the fact that God can use anyone to fulfill His purposes. No matter how far one may seem from the path of righteousness, divine intervention can redirect even the most unlikely individuals. Paul, originally known as Saul, was a devout Jew, a Pharisee. He was well versed in the Jewish law and traditions, and he took great pride in his heritage and religious zeal. He was zealous in his beliefs, persecuting early Christians. Saul saw the followers of Jesus as a threat to the Jewish faith and was determined to eradicate this new movement. He actively imprisoned them, even consenting to their deaths. One of the most notable instances was his approval of the stoning of Stephen, the first Christian martyr. But God had other plans for Paul. Despite Saul's fervent opposition to Christianity, God saw potential in him and orchestrated a dramatic encounter that would change his life forever. On his way to Damascus, a blinding light flashed around him. This light was so intense that it stopped Saul in his tracks, leaving him bewildered and terrified. He fell to the ground, and a voice boomed from heaven, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" This divine voice was unmistakable and filled with authority. Paul asked, "Who are you, Lord?" And the voice replied, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting." This revelation was a turning point, as Saul realized he had been fighting against the very God he sought to serve. That encounter changed the course of Paul's life forever. He was no longer the same man. His heart and mind were transformed by this divine revelation. He was blinded by the light, a physical representation of his spiritual blindness. This temporary blindness forced Saul to rely on others and reflect on his actions. He spent 3 days in darkness, fasting and praying. During this time, Saul sought understanding and forgiveness. God restored Paul's sight through a disciple named Ananias, who was initially hesitant but obeyed God's command. He was filled with the Holy Spirit and emerged a changed man. This infilling empowered him to begin his new mission with fervor and dedication. He went from being a persecutor of Christians to becoming one of the most passionate apostles. Paul's zeal for the Jewish law was now redirected towards spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ. In Acts 9:15, Jesus says of Paul, "This man is my chosen instrument to carry my name before the Gentiles and their kings and before the people of Israel." This declaration affirmed Paul's new purpose and mission. Paul's story is a powerful reminder that God's grace knows no bounds. It shows that no one is beyond redemption and that God's love can transform even the hardest of hearts. He can take our past mistakes and use them for His glory. Paul's past as a persecutor became a powerful testimony of God's mercy and transformative power. Paul's life after his conversion was dedicated to sharing the message of Jesus Christ. He traveled extensively, establishing churches and writing letters that would become a significant part of the New Testament. Paul's story is an inspiration to us all, reminding us that God's redemption is available to all who seek it. His life encourages us to trust in God's plan and to be open to the transformative power of His love. Friends, as we've journeyed through these incredible stories of Joseph, the prodigal son, and Paul, we see a common thread: God's unwavering desire to redeem and transform lives. Each story points to the same powerful truth: God is a God of second chances, a God of restoration, a God of boundless love and forgiveness. Joseph, betrayed and sold into slavery, trusted in God's plan and became a vessel of blessing. The prodigal son, lost and broken, found unconditional love and acceptance upon returning to his father. Paul, the zealous persecutor, experienced a radical transformation and became a devoted follower of Jesus. These stories remind us that God can take even the most challenging circumstances and turn them around for our good. Friends, if you're feeling lost, if you're carrying the weight of past mistakes, know this: God's arms are wide open, waiting to embrace you. His redemption is available to all who seek it. Take a step of faith today. Embrace the transformative power of His redemption and step into the destiny He has planned for you.